All right. We're live again today. I am live and I am joined with a long lost friend and long lost co-host, Brother Matthew Lepasic. God bless you, man. How you doing, bro?
Good to see you and hear your voice again. It's nice to talk with real human beings for the first time in 120 days since being in the Appalachian Mountains.
All right. Well, at least you got signal up there. Yeah, so we're going live tonight. We've got a lot to talk about. It happened again in Minneapolis, and I think it's kind of one of those things that's like, are we surprised that it happened again? It's sad that it happened again, but we definitely got to talk about it, and we definitely got to give you some insight. So I just want to say thank you guys for joining us. Let me know where you guys are watching from, and if you can, do your boy a solid and hit the like button. It's free; it doesn't cost you anything. Help a brother out. Help us hit the algorithm. Hit the like button. Hit the share button. Subscribe. Subscribe to the new YouTube channel, Faith and Nation. Just should be a link in the description below to that as well. And let me know where you guys are watching from. I'm going to go all the way to the top. And we've got Hype Williams says, God bless you, Alex. We've got No Women, No Cry back in the house. Good to see you again. Activating Presence is back. And she says that most of America is freezing. And we're actually probably going to maybe mention a little bit about that. I think we're having some record colds. Matt, where are you at? You're up in the north, aren't you?
I'm in Illinois right now. My grandmother passed, so I came into town here during. I always promised myself that I would not be anywhere in the Midwest or in the Northeast. This is why I go to Southern Florida. This is the only time of year where it's worthwhile to be in Florida, where you don't hate your life. Is right now, but instead I'm over here with 10-degree temperatures.
Okay. Well, thank you for that update. We've got Scooter P says, greetings from upstate New York. Thank you for joining us from upstate New York. We've got Ethan says, hi. And I'm probably not going to be showing more of these because it kind of takes too long. We got Jonathan Reese from Chicago says, what's up? God bless you. Good to see you. He says, oh, this one's worthy. He says, these videos have been a blessing. Thank you, Jonathan. God bless you, man. We definitely try to do our part. And, of course, got to say hi to the missus. She says, hey, everybody. God bless you. Oh, my goodness. Matt looks like he's in the Caribbean somewhere with his background. Yeah, he's got that green screen in the background.
This is my
Yeah.
childhood bedroom. I've told the story before. We won't do it again. But this is the room that I decided to soundproof when we were building our house. And we soundproofed it very well, but it made it a room that could not be air conditioned for some reason. It's a hot room.
Okay. And we also have Sister Batia. She says -2 Fahrenheit and going dropped. Continuing to drop. Looks like it predicted to -4. She's in Maryland. No, that's Maine. Sorry, that is Maine. So God bless you. All right, so we've got to get
It's
into it,
cold in
man.
Minnesota where all the protesters are, that's for sure.
Yeah, at least it's not Minnesota. So,
I wish
so
I was
look,
there.
guys. Yeah, so look, guys. It happened again, and when this first came out, when I first saw it, it's one of those things that you see it happening and you're wondering, like, man, why did this have to happen? Like why? Like, this is not good. And it's because it's not good. This is not a good look for anybody. This is not a good look for our president. This is not a good look for ICE. This is not a good look for enforcing law. I mean, but at the same time, this isn't a good look for the other side either. And it's just a situation that I think, like, it did not have to happen. These are things that just don't have to happen. And so I just want you guys to be aware. We're going to be playing some videos that I may not just do the sound just because there's a lot of cursing. I know you guys are probably seen them, some of the videos, but yeah, so this was obviously the scene today.
You're doing too much, man.
And, viewer discretion is advised. I'm just going to keep it plain. Obviously, there's a fight, there's a wrestle, and essentially, someone lost their life today that I believe did not have to happen, and it's unfortunate that these things continue to happen because it just doesn't have to, man. And unfortunately, somebody's probably in hell that didn't need to go there at this moment. And I don't know. I don't know the guy's salvational situation, but it doesn't look good. It doesn't look good for him. It doesn't look good for ICE, and I think the only one that's winning here is the devil. To be honest, and that's just my honest take. Devil's the only one that's really kind of winning, and we know that the devil has his moment. Like he has his time in which he's going to be able to win some battles, and these are some of those battles that he's going to win in this moment. Um, because like Matt, have you seen this video? Have you seen it before yet? Or I know you said you've been kind of busy. Did you get a chance to watch
No,
the video?
I haven't. I haven't at all. But yeah, this is a time where inexperience is going to lead you into a lot of pits because we've had a lot of pits dug for us for precisely for this purpose so that we would stumble into them, called problem reaction solution. And boy, are we doing a great job of seeing these giant pits and being like, yay, let's just all fall into it.
Yeah.
And
Um, so I want to give you guys a little bit more context because obviously what we're hearing right now is obviously it's a left versus right type of scenario. If you're watching news on CNN or MSNBC, something like that, then obviously the picture that's being painted is somebody got unalived today, and obviously the bad guy is ICE. And then you might hear on Fox News that uh, somebody was obstructing justice and had a gun, and ICE agents were defending themselves. And here's just what I'm going to say about that. Um, I don't know who's right or who's wrong in this scenario, in this moment, in this particular moment where ICE agents are already wrestling on the ground. I don't know at that moment who's wrong and who's right, to be honest. Um, I'm going to get into some other videos. There's some other angles that are being shown that show a little bit more detail about what happened. But what I'm going to say right now is that this is a lose lose situation. It's unfortunate that I think the start of all of this, aside from everybody having stony hearts, right? Obviously, that's the given. People are unregenerated. People don't have the Holy Ghost. That's a given. But I think the start to all of this is you have people like Tim Walls and Ilhan Omar that are promoting people to go and agitate ICE agents. I think that's number one, right? I mean, they're putting gas on a flame, and they're telling their constituents to go and ultimately raise hell, stop these ICE agents from doing their job. Right? These ICE agents, they don't have a safe job. Their job is hard. They have a hard job to do, and when normal regular citizens are making it worse for you, you're going to have situations like this. This is good. This is what's going to happen. Like, and anyhow, um, Matt, you have a little bit of experience in being an agitator, so to speak.
oh
You
yeah.
agitate me sometimes. You're really good at it, and I
Hey,
think
don't
sometimes
tell
you
people why I haven't been on the show for the past 2 months.
yeah, I'm just kidding.
No,
But no, but
we're
we were talking on the phone, and you were telling me some stuff, and so I just want you to kind of get into that. You were talking about the psychology about what's happening behind here.
Well,
Uh,
here's the thing. I got into a little bit of an argument with my mom today because anyhow, she was telling me that you use too many words. I can't remember what I was saying. So I'm going to try to say this, Mom. in a way where everyone can understand it. I'll try to be succinct because I speak to a chatbot all day long. What I have been realizing every single day is how important my background is as having been in an activist mindset on the streets, in allowing me to have empathy, some discernment of what's going on, and really allowing me to straddle the middle, okay, of a position because I was like, what's her name, good. I was like these people for a short period of time when I participated in being on the streets as an activist in New York City all throughout my 20s. And then really culminating in the end of it was during Occupy Wall Street, when we were there to see the beginning of what today is called Antifa and all these different all these different uh, what is it, protests for hire movements that are being backed by George Soros. Okay, so it's allowed me to know exactly the mindset that's being played out right now by these people who are on the streets and how dangerous this mindset is. Also, how hopeless it is because many of these people who are out there right now, if you were to have a good rational conversation with them when they were in a good mood, they're going to sound like they're trying to do the right thing, and they've also have found something that's very addictive to them, which is a new friend network. Okay. And what's more important to them than the cause right now is their new friends that they have made. Many of these people, they haven't made new friends in a decade. And when you get out into the streets, just as when you get out into the church streets, you tend to meet your posse, right? And you come alive with boldness, like as we do in the church. That same thing is happening in the activist movements right now. They're emboldened. They're living in a strong delusion, and you're not going to have.
Sorry, go ahead.
You're not. This include is that you're not going to be able to change their mind right now. Doesn't matter how many Charlie Kirks are out there. The only thing that's going to fix this is time and wisdom, having made mistakes, and the inevitable breakdown of these relationships, of these friendships that they've made as they start to enter into pride and these type of things. But as of right now, everyone who's out there, a bunch of newbies, mixed with about a 20%. I see faces over there that I have seen instead of New York, that with the Global Revolution Communist Movement that was there at Occupy Wall Street, friends of mine. And this is 100% something that is incredibly dangerous because I just feel like the climate right now is at a point where the only people that are being rational are those that have the Holy Spirit.
Yeah. Well, and that's one of the things too. Obviously, I know you said time can heal and, counseling, things like that. But I mean, obviously the gospel, right? And I think that goes without saying is that obviously the gospel, people need the gospel because when we're living in a world where lawlessness is being promoted,
Yeah.
lawlessness is being promoted. Like, what do we think is going to happen when lawlessness? Jesus said, when lawlessness abounds, that the love of many shall wax cold. Okay. And I think that what we're seeing is lawlessness is abounding. It is being promoted. It's being pushed. And for many people that are, let's say, paid agitators, whatever you want to call it, under the Soros dollar,
Yeah.
they are they're feeling emboldened because they have all the money. They're getting paid. The one guy from last week when we did the when I did the live about the church that got raided by protesters,
Yeah.
that guy William Kelly,
Oh my gosh, that guy was like a rabid dog. I saw
dude.
myself in him. And I look at him, I'm like, that's a 27-year-old version of Matt. That's the type of stuff that I would do in
Yeah,
a
well,
church, though.
he had a GoFundMe page that started November of 2025, and it had $20,000 in just a little over 2 months. He had over $20,000 in there. I mean,
I think it's
that's a lot of
necessary and
money, man.
sobering.
That's way more than what I make.
When
Like,
you watch that video of that guy going to the church like that, even though it's not violent, are you not reacting a little bit more than you are when a church shooter goes into a building? I mean, honestly, I, I, I find that the activity that they're currently up to now irritates me a little bit more viscerally, than what I've been numbed down to now when people are being, gunned down, in churches or wherever else with these school shootings happening and stuff. And I think that says something, because this type of agitation that gets popularized, it really helps feed a movement. And I don't know if having slogans, such as divide and conquer in your head, is enough. But for me, I'm constantly examining myself and making sure I'm aware of the devices of the enemy working against me and my mindset with every reaction, every default knee jerk reaction I have nowadays. If I don't have the Holy Spirit, if I'm not checking myself to make sure I'm really in the Spirit, everything will pull at me because look, everything we've seen and the specifics of what's going on today over there in Minneapolis. I have 5 cousins in Minneapolis. They were just here, right? And that's another conversation to go into. But it's funny when you find people who are, that's the Christian side of my family, right? That was the Lutheran side before any of us had any type of relationship with the Lord. They did. They were the goody two shoes that moved away from Illinois. And a lot of them are now leftist supporting people, right? My aunt, for years, my aunt and my uncle, back when they were racist, we go down to Rochester, Minnesota for Mayo Clinic. That's where our family has gone for 30 years. So we don't trust the doctors over here in Illinois and Minnesota. And so when we go there, the Somalis were inside all the hotels everywhere. I remember when I was a kid, they were pointing them out and they were using racist words and stuff, And sure enough, they were. This was a problem 15 years ago, right?
Yeah.
And so, unfortunately, they're winning this simplistic hearts and minds campaign of watch your neighbor, take care of your neighbor. It really is low hanging fruit for an uneducated, demographic.
Yeah. So I think Brother Scott, he said, I'm confused about the man who stepped in and apparently grabs a gun and then stands up and walks away. Did he get that gun off of an officer? I've got a video here that I'm gonna share this one, and this is so the slow mo replay, a little bit zoomed in, and let me see if I can. Let me see if I can. And okay, so It's playing right now as we speak. So start it here. So this guy comes in. See the empty hand.
Look at this.
The still empty hand, but he's reaching for something. Looks like he tries to grab the guy's leg, but then he must have seen something, and it looks like he grabbed something from the guy. He's grabbing something from the guy. Now, look, gun in hand.
What in the world?
And look, right there, he's got it. And he's walking away. So, so again, I mean, it does look like.
Looks like what? You got to be a forensic video analyzer here. Otherwise, power of suggestion. Anybody can put any captions on the screen and literally tell me anything they want. They can tell me that no planes hit the World Trade Center. That happened to me for about 8 months. I believed it.
Yeah. So, I mean, he definitely. Yeah, I mean, he definitely takes away a firearm from the guy. I mean, you can see it right there. It's on his waist hip. And then now he releases it and he walks away with the firearm. Okay, so I mean, this is all. I mean, I'm not proud of all of this. Like, this is not. But so here's my thing, bro. Is like these guys have such a hard job, and it's a dangerous job. They don't get the opportunity to look at different angles. They don't get the opportunity to go in slow mo. They don't get the opportunity to, talk to their, person next to them.
Yeah, it's fight or flight. They're trained. They have an instinct that's drilled into them, and however that instinct's created, that's what they're rolling after at that moment. Instinct mixed with restraint. The question is, what's the mixture of restraint?
Yeah, so
compels you.
Yeah. So obviously, that's not a good look, right? Because just looking at that in that moment, it looks like they shot a guy who was unarmed. That's that's how it looks, right? And is that reality? Well, it seems like that is the actual reality. But again, I mean, like you're expecting a I mean, let's just say that we live in a corrupt society. I mean, the whole world's corrupt. We live the world became corrupt back when sin entered the world. So we know it's corrupt. Like, why would you expect individuals, if you believe that they're corrupt government, why would you expect them to make the best decision in this very split second moments that something like this is taking place? So, for me, it just does not, entirely make sense.
Yeah.
Um,
And we also don't know a lot. Like, questions that go through my mind is I like to know what is the, and this isn't to make accusations, they are looming questions I haven't bothered to answer. Like, what is the age range of people whom they're hiring for ICE? What's the salary range? What are the classes of people whom they exclude when it comes to questionable, PTSD types of categories and stuff, And I just find like watching Fox News, even though it's in the background, and even like I'll flip over to CNN, MSNBC, I really don't see the type of questions I have looming in my head being answered. Like doesn't seem like anybody's really trying to actually answer the question, because I myself, I don't like this whole ICE situation. I'm sort of being tossed to and fro, and there's so much of it that I hate, which I can go on for a long time about, compared to what I've seen in the airport with the kids that were lined up, from 18 to looks like 28, that they're training for ICE. It's such a bad look. I hate the masks. I hate the mindset that we're being led by Donald Trump, whom I think I still like a lot. However, I don't think he's a good leader in order to control the troops. And when he sets a certain dialogue that it feels like it's a gaslighting or feels like it's an inappropriate tone he was set, or he said something wrong, he puts us automatically into a defensive position. You know, so I don't see a lot of grace in how any of us have been handling, this whole situation online. And I do see that even within myself, like there's a desire just to like go nuts on the other side. Um, yeah. So
yeah.
I don't know
So
what is.
yeah, I agree with what you're saying, Matt. Like it's like how do we as believers like handle something like this, and how are we supposed to respond? Because we don't, obviously I identify number one as a Christian, but obviously I identify as a Republican at the moment because they're the ones that mostly line up with more of what I would believe to be more of biblical Christian values than the other side. I mean, that's a given. But at the same time, like we have to be like look at things objectively,
Yeah.
discerning what is actually right and wrong, whether no matter what side it comes on,
Right.
right? And when you get
Totally
instances,
knowing we could be deceived at any point.
yeah,
We
and when
ourselves at any point.
you get instances like this, it becomes it's like, man, how, like is this actually justifiable? And what I would say is this. Um, so in a world system that we live in, based upon laws and based upon the idea that people can do whatever they want to do, it's a free world, whatever, free whatever. Like, obviously, there's people that are going to take matters into their own hands. People are going to do evil. They're going to do evil. And so when you have law enforcement, what is law enforcement for? It's supposed to be for those who break the law, right? And to either apprehend them, to enforce the law, to even enforce justice and punishment. And in the middle of apprehending someone,
Yeah.
Like, what do you expect is going to happen? Now, I like if this gentleman did not show up today, if he was not there with a gun, like I think it's definite clear he had a pistol, and that's not entirely illegal. I'm not saying that like he was illegally carrying a weapon. I don't know. He could have had a concealed carry license. That's possible. And so the weapon doesn't make it illegal for him to have. But when you have a weapon and you are in the middle of an ICE operation and putting yourself in the middle and getting yourself caught up in a struggle and a fight, because obviously he's fighting to some degree, and you've got a weapon on you, that is a recipe for disaster. Like you, what are they supposed to do? They're trying to make it home tonight to their family. And so what are they supposed to do? And so it's like, but so
What they're supposed to do is they're supposed to be having a good shepherd that's going to, look out after them on their side. The problem is the Tim Walls and the left, they're shepherding the way they disciple their people is into the strong delusion, and it perfectly fits what they said that they're going to be killing us Christians and say they're doing God a favor. When you talk with these people, yeah, you would think that you're talking with somebody that wasn't completely delusional and psychotic and attacking the very people that are trying to defend this country. And now, bro, how cringe is it to hear them scream about the Constitution? I mean, to hear them screaming about the Constitution, I literally don't know how to react to it anymore. But I know that my visceral reaction is so like, you are just nuts. You are a psychopath. You're like, the fact that you have bought into this whole belief system just means you're so brainwashed that it like stirs me up the rage, and I have to calm myself down in the moment. So all I know is for myself, I know like a Christian programming, like what do I have to offer? I have to offer that I'm not even racing to watch these videos right now, because until all the different camera angles have happened and the consensus happens over a couple of days, I don't base my decisions on the real time anymore. I'm not that bored in life. In my 20s, I would do that in the real time of the day to day. But look what's happened just over the course of the past few months. We've had multiple different shootings. Everybody reacted in one direction, and then the next day things changed with a different camera angle. So I'm just sitting back and I'll wait to receive the information as it comes about. But the one thing I know I can expect is the flesh is going to be ruling people's emotions during this time. I see it online, right? And we got rifts in the political world. We've also got rifts in the kingdom of God, with this season of exposure, the Mike Ringer versus the Bethel and the Sean Bowles situation that's happening. And what I find is parallels. The reason why it's interesting is because my life experience as an activist is not something I boast in. I talk about it because it gives me certain insights into what's going on. I see certain parallels that how political activism works and also how the church works. And I see lessons that the political activists refuse to learn from that the church also refuses to learn from, right? And when it comes to like all this online commentary and stuff, activism used to be about solutions. It used to be that, okay, your solution that you thought was going to solve your problem was there's this niche issue. I need to bring attention and awareness to it. Therefore, I buy banners, I get flyers, I go with a megaphone, I promote this message. You always knew that if you were disrupting people in any way, shape, or form that were trying to engage in the regular everyday life, you're going to really tick off the public. So you didn't, block roads. It worked against your cause. Everything that's happening, on the activism fronts on the streets and the ground with these protesters is counterintuitive to actually causing change, because they're offering no solutions. Whistles are not innovation. We've seen also, I'll end with, I don't know if you noticed this, but have you seen how now like punk and grunge, all their signs are? It's like, all right, Trump keeps repeating that these Trumps are manufactured in a shop in New Jersey or whatever, and they look professional. We really got to make sure these signs look like crap. These
yeah,
signs look
yeah,
terrible, don't they?
yeah,
They
yeah.
are all homemade now. like painfully homemade. Like signs
Well,
no one would even make. They're so curiously homemade. Like,
I mean, that's part of it, right? I mean, that's part of it. It has to look grunge. It has to look grassroots. That's that's the whole thing. They want it to look like it's a grassroots protest when a lot of these people, are paid, and it's not uh, grassroots. It's not organic.
well, you
It's
saw Laura Lindgren with that video, right, where she replied back and is like, "I'm getting paid right now." Just like, "Thank
oh
you."
yeah, 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 yeah. I posted that actually. Yeah, I posted that. I
But
actually had
the
that
thing is,
on.
there's a psychology behind it because behind that narrative, saying that they're being paid, somehow we've even been softened to that, what that reality of what that actually spells out. To both the left, they can't see it. They're actually being paid and still think they're on the right side because they're part of infrastructure to fight this machinery. Which started with this banner of the Wall Street and the 1%, but now all of this vitriol that's been pointed at the 1% by the Bernie Sanders crews over the years, they've now got a verbal weapon pointed at Donald Trump and the Republican establishment. Um, I
Yeah,
want to see. I love, like, back in the day when we had like an army of activists. We had like calls to action. We would say, "Do this, do that." Let's try this, let's try that. And I wonder what we as Christians can do. What can we do? Well, we're preachers of the gospel, right? And I like to say sometimes when you go and preach the gospel, that's beneficial. But honestly, it all depends on the character of that preacher, man. There's plenty of situations where you can go, but I'd like to see us as the kingdom sort of like, what did they have in New York City? It was the guardian angels, right? With Daniel Silva, whatever his name, Silva.
yeah,
And I'd like to see us as Christians step up and start providing some infrastructure with all of this political chaos. What role can we provide as peacekeepers, right? While also respecting that we have to pick a side, but understanding we could be completely deceived. This conspiracy is so sophisticated. I thought that God was more powerful per se than or God was more like orchestrating. I don't want to say I thought that. I this has been 8 years of me rethinking my whole conspiratorial walk, where I was looking at it from the lens of not what the devil was capable of, what God was capable of. Okay, and I just don't know right now if we have not stepped into a giant pit, like I said at the beginning, that was dug for us. And I don't know that if all of this isn't intended and they're letting it happen on purpose. But I can tell you that for 15 years, I fought the Real ID Act. And now, under Donald J. Trump, lots of policies that I fought for years are now being enacted. All right. And the coincidental timing of how a problem was created by the prior administration, but now this administration is stepping into what must have been the inevitable plan for the creation of that problem in the first place, right? And it's not that, like, if we were really smart here, we would say, oh, the answer to mass immigration is not A, B, C, D, E, F, G, illegal immigration. We would have a smarter plan because we would know that the leftists over there set this up so that they could inevitably have this conclusion of this reaction. And I
yeah.
just feel like every reaction the Trump administration is doing is wrong, right? Quite honestly. And the narrative, I'll end with this: the narrative of how any of us accept masks, right? That's going to do nothing but irritate the public. It's not a safety net like what a pastor would do, okay? And the people who put themselves in that position, that job, they need to be under the payment of a higher payment risk category so that they are willing to put their reputation, their family life on the line. They should get paid more for it. That's what it should be there for. Just like when you go into the military. And the idea that, I guess it wasn't a conclusion, but the last thing I'll say is that the idea that the public has seen people with blue and black clothing represented as police officers. They're very keen on the highway, who's highway patrol, who can really pull me over, who's a city cop, a county cop, okay? They have no experience whatsoever with this new force of ICE on the streets in mass, and you're going to put them out in decked out black vehicles wearing masks like that movie? That's not a shepherd-like mentality in order to have not give them ammunition to shoot us in the head with. There's lots of stuff that's sick, psychotic, and stupid politically that I don't support.
I mean, so what are they supposed to do? Just out of curiosity, when they're being doxxed and they're being threatened with their lives and putting their faces on social media to get.
Prosecute them. You prosecute them, you put them in jail. That's the law. But I can just say that you can't go against common sense and intuition. Any moron should be able to predict that even a person like myself or someone on the left is going to inevitably have a soft spot with the narrative that the masks are ridiculous and they create a certain look and an aesthetic that nobody wants in law enforcement. To be no precedent like this we want to be set. So like it puts me in a difficult position where I shouldn't have to be arguing this point. I should be able to be, but when we get into this language, we have to say, "Oh, you're right about that." Well, there shouldn't be. There's like three things that I'm talking to people about this whole conversation where I have to say, "Oh, well, you're right about that." I shouldn't have to say that, right? Because we should have wisdom in how we deploy these things. And I would answer your question very much by saying that like it's just so blatantly not common sense. This is going to scare people and irritate people to put these masks on. What reason would you allow? Now, doxing, that's why when you're a security guard or a bodyguard, you're getting paid $130,000 a year, right? When you're a nurse, you're going to be seeing death all day long. You're going to be getting desensitized. That's the job, right? So we should make the payment requirements and then the penalties, right? Put people in jail, expedite the court cases, show them what happens when you do this stuff. We haven't seen, even in the Trump administration, which is a short period of time now, we're only a little bit over a year, right? Are we even there yet? Yeah, we're
Yeah,
just
yeah, we're just 4 days over a year.
there's no back in the day, Alex. I used to imagine before I knew the Lord. You know what I wanted? I wanted to see heads, people cut off. I wanted to see my enemies' heads put on the poles and like plastered in a way so everyone can look at them and say we conquered them. They were the enemy, right? We wanted to get away from that. Now, what's
That's
the
pretty
reason I
rough,
said
dude.
that? I'm saying I don't want that anymore, but we have to have that level of. I forgot the point of why I said that.
Yeah, well, listen, okay, so I mean, have we gone too far? Like, as far as the mask on the ICE agents, have we gone too far? Like, I mean, can they go backwards now? Can they go now and unmask
Yeah,
themselves?
Care Bears. Like, let's get them little belts they put on their stomach that says Care Bears stare, and this little projectors that they put on
That's
their
not,
and it's
yeah. So,
yeah,
anyways,
but they can
look,
honestly, but they don't have the wisdom, and they're not trying to do this like be clever as be gentle as the dove and clever as the serpent, right? There's some sort of mentality that like this lacks creativity that I think that this a moment calls for touching the hearts and minds of people that rhetoric can't do. And this we can't make mistakes like Trump did. He set the wrong tone from the very first second. From the very first second when the videos were first released, he sets the wrong tone, right? Now, it doesn't mean what he said was wrong, but 80% was good and the 20% was crud on that tweet, right? And so then
on what tweet?
his original tweet with what's her name, the lesbian lady, Ms. Good, um,
Oh,
that he put us in a position where we have to defend his words, and we're like, no. So like anytime that you're actually having a conversation with your family or anybody around you trying to get somewhere, you always have to call a spade a spade. And so it's hard to make progress because you're always having to concede and say, "Oh, well, Trump's wrong about that. Well, he was wrong. I agree. He shouldn't be done. I agree this. I agree that." I'm not saying he's responsible for who's making these decisions, but for me, just like we heard, okay, for the last 10 years, there used to be a thing where we talked about how from the blue went to black. That we don't like the idea that our police officers even wearing black, that they used to be the blue, right? That used to be a narrative. So how we can go from that to black and masks, right? When we're on the right, we're the people that's been making fun of masks the entire time period, although not for protection purposes. And then also Antifa is all about wearing masks, right? So then how do we educate them that masks aren't the right thing to do, right? And then continue doing it in order to safeguard their reputation when we're doing the same thing. Just come on.
yeah.
It's got to be
I don't
smarter.
know.
At least make the
Well,
masks. If you want to wear
well,
masks, red, white, and blue flags. How about that? If you want to wear masks, red, white, and blue
yeah.
flags.
So obviously it's just not a good situation. And here's the thing. I mean, but this is what's going to happen. I mean, this is what's going to happen when lawlessness abounds. Okay. I mean, let's be real. Let's be honest here. Like, if we are bearers of truth, if we are people that want to be on the side of truth, like let's be honest here. Number one, this should not have happened because there shouldn't be people getting in their way. That's definitive. And I'm not, I don't know if the gentleman that took the shots, if he was in his mind thinking this is my opportunity to shine, and if it was done in vain, right? I don't know. Only God knows. And God is going to judge that guy, right? Like, we know God is going to judge that individual if they were doing it in the right motive, if it was done in vain. We don't know. And I think it's almost impossible for us to know if that was done in vain in that moment. I heard somebody was telling me on one of my posts to say that they saw a video and saying, "Hey, this is awesome. This is like Call of Duty." I haven't seen I haven't seen that video. I was looking for it. I haven't seen anything like that that's been out about that. Maybe I just missed it. But if that type of stuff is happening, then yeah, I think that's a instance where they are bearing the sword in vain, and they are no longer in under the guise of uh, a, a ruler that is meant to execute wrath on those who practice evil. Right? You are now bearing the sword in vain. And so, God is going to judge, at the end of the day. And but obviously, uh, I don't want that. I don't want agents, police, whoever, military, to bear the sword in vain, right? As a Christian, we want people to be doing it in the right spirit, in the right ordination in which God has ordained for people to, carry that sword. But look, at the end of the day, man, this is a tough job. And like, if you are okay, let's say you hate ICE, hate them, like, don't like them, like, you have that prerogative. You want to protest, do it, protest, hold it. You want to hold up a sign, hold up a sign, let it say whatever you want on there, but don't be getting in their way. Don't you want to film them? Do it from very far, and don't be blocking the road. Don't be getting up in their face. Don't get nowhere near their operation, because this is what's going to happen. Like, you can't expect people that are being doxxed, that are having things thrown at them every single day, in freezing temperatures. They have bottles of water that are frozen, that are rock solid, that are being thrown and chucked at them. You have their lives that are being threatened each and every day. Their families being threatened each and every single day. Like, so this is what's going to happen. And what does the scripture says? It says, when lawlessness abounds, the love of many shall wax cold. And we as believers, we cannot have our love being waxed cold. A young man lost his life today, and if he didn't have Christ, he's in hell. If he didn't have Christ, he's in hell. And I don't see any evidence of anybody doing this kind of stuff, getting involved, trying to put themselves in a situation where they're obstructing justice, having the Spirit of Christ in them. I don't see that. I want to hope for the guy, because that is not what we want for people. We don't want people to be unalived like that and then go to hell. And it didn't have to happen. Didn't have to happen. And that's my stance. It didn't have to happen. Again, if whatever that guy, if the guy that pulled the trigger, if he did it unjustly, if he did it just to, like, this is my moment to shine or whatever, if there's any kind of ill intent, like, God is going to judge him, but at the same time, in a worldly system, he's justified. In a worldly system, that man is going to be justified, because he doesn't get an opportunity to have multiple angles. He doesn't get an opportunity to hit the slow-mo button and the zoom in button. He doesn't get that moment. He doesn't, and so uh, And now here we are. Here come the National Guard.
Well,
I
let's
think
just
it's
wait and see.
been
Let's just wait and see what the video is because it's going to be black and white. The thing is, we just got to not react in the first 12 hours or something, and then the whole case will be of tomorrow. We'll see exactly what happened from every single angle. Hopefully, and it's probably going to be black and white, and that's the place where we're at now. You're looking at something that should be obvious for everybody to see it, but there's still going to be two sides of something that's in plain sight.
yeah. Yeah. Yeah,
Here's the
Natasha
scriptures
said
that
Natasha said it's very easy to judge the actions of ICE agents when
it
we're
is.
not put in those situations. You're
But what's
right.
our purpose?
Absolutely.
What I ask myself is, like, what's my role as a Christian? Well, for me, I'm trying to be good on my conscience regarding and like my emotions being invoked with all this news happening around on me. I want to make sure that my heart's not enjoying someone else's pain and suffering or like rooting for the other team and stuff. So it's a constant exercise of self control in order to keep myself from going towards that hate that I know is the prescription for all this. And it really just makes me fearful for people who aren't, I don't know if I'm just psychotic or what, but like every day is a fight just by logging on to social media to keep myself from sinning. Like a 30-second scrolling session wouldn't take much. Um,
Yeah.
so I just feel like it, I don't know how we're going to
And
get through this place.
and obviously, like, this is like, everybody, and it is sad. Like, I get it. It is sad. But be more sad that somebody foolishly lost their life and is in hell if he didn't have Christ. Like, that's what we need to be sad for. Like, look, I don't know where this guy got this sign at, actually. Hold on a second. Do you see that sign? I'm gonna pause it real quick, dude. I mean, watch. Hold on. Look at this sign right here. Hold on. It's
Oh,
coming.
that's
Right
from
there, right there.
communistetsy.com.
Huh?
It's called communistetsy.com.
Oh, you can't see it. Oh, hold on. Let
Etsy
me
for communists.
look at that.
I'm an
Justice.
Etsy.
How do you get a sign that quickly?
You're very creative. These are the most creative people on the planet. These are the homosexuals of the earth, brother. Come on now. They have all the creative talent. Not. And that, yeah, I don't want to go there. You want to know another thing I'm constantly be triggered to do? Constantly, I have these thoughts in my head about wanting to mention how ugly these people are, right? Of how hideous, like all these people who are fighting. Like that's one of my biggest comments I try not to make online. Practicing self-control is just mentioning how the common denominator amongst all these people, because I'm trying not to be like that, but they're the ugliest people, and it makes me wonder how like are these like the people who've been tortured, obfuscated, like never had any friends, sat in the corner their whole life, and now they're just finally getting out because there's it's just like people who live in their mother's basement their whole life, and people who I would normally have lots of sympathy for, like
Yeah.
not just because of
Yeah.
physical appearances, but like are they coming out of like Middle Earth or something? There's
Yeah.
something wrong.
But I don't know how you get signs this quickly distributed out if this is paid for. I mean, the people up and the elites, I mean, they're loving this, dude. And that's the thing. They're loving that people are going and getting unalived, you know, and this gives them, oh man, we got to pay for another protest, another gathering, and yeah, let's flood all this money into so they can make these signs, and like this is what the reality is, that these people love the fact that somebody lost their life today. They love the fact that this man was taken out by an ICE agent, and they have another opportunity to go and flood money into another protest. That's what's happening. And so,
I don't know.
um,
All I know is families are not willing to talk about it. Like my cousins, everyone's sort of at a place where like they don't have the expectation that they're even going to not get into a fight. Like even watching my cousin speak with like the male cousin who's pro-Trump, and then his five sisters. It's just like they still love each other, of course, but like they don't even stomach a conversation because everyone's just, what's that word? The year of 2025, fatigue.
Oh, fatigue. Yeah.
It's not even like no one's
Israel
bickering.
fatigue. Candace
If you're
fatigue.
doing
Everybody's
good as a
fatigued.
family, then you have fatigue. If you're not doing good as a family, then you have bickering, anger, strife, right? But you don't even try to make headway. It was funny because like I said, my grandma and funeral and all that brought us together, and big reality check. But I don't think people were trying so hard, So it's time like this where the only ideas I have aren't from 20 years of activism. It's from radical expressions of kindness, the same thing. 2024, 2025, and I think 2026. If I was going to be a fake prophet, the words I've always wanted to, I think probably my whole life, I'll have these words: vulnerability and transparency. Especially vulnerability at a time like this. And when we preach to our choir, it's one thing, but again, man, like I just think like if I was in the position I was in like 20 years ago, if I had a communication where I could actually rile up the troops, what would I have them do? If I was Alex Jones, right? What would I do? What would I give to all my viewers? Which I don't have that position of influence, but I do spend time thinking about that, and I just wish we'd see some people within the Christian body come up with a solution. I don't know if there's podcast hosts out there, because I'm really not into talking about and breaking it down, having an opinion, because my opinion just means nothing. Like right now, what's my opinion? My opinion is let's wait till tomorrow. I think that's really what we should be telling people. Guard your emotions in the meantime. Pray, people. You know what I mean? But what they want to hear, right, is, oh, we found this lady. Look at his arm. That's an arm, right? I know tomorrow we'll know that's an arm, but right now, oh, it's a cell phone. Never mind, it's a cell phone.
Yeah.
And it's
Well,
like this Candace Owens mentality where this is driving the clickbait online. Nothing against Candace, but like you want to be on the day-to-day war room. I tune into Candace. I've tuned into Alex Jones every single day because I want to watch the day-to-day developments. But that's from pros who have been deceived dozens of times in their life. You know what I mean? So that they have that wisdom to help you navigate this world of conspiracy and conjecture and the political realm. There's a lot of people who have no wisdom. They're just listening to brand new newbies that know how to like do this thing, and they point, and that's how they develop the name. But they don't have that thing that we need of that restraint and that willingness to say, I don't know, to encourage people to have vulnerable conversations with one another. It's impossible.
Why? Obviously, and I think this is why Charlie Kirk was so dangerous, because he was the one that was actually bridging that gap of having conversations and being able to have conversations.
Well, what he was really bridging it more? It's in amongst us. What he less on for the public, but amongst us on the inside. He was a special glue calling people, saying, hey, that was a little bit too much. And they had respect and fear and reverence for him that they actually tamed themselves when Charlie called them in the conservative movement.
Right. Well, yeah, but and you know what too, and I think he was bridging that gap between conservatives and liberals too, and that's why he was so dangerous, to them, is because he was so talented at being able to get people to open up, have conversations, and because he said when you can have conversations, right, that's when violence ends against each other.
Yeah.
And what has happened since? He was
And he was just getting there. He wasn't even at his prime. Remember, this is just the last year and a half.
Yeah. He was really just kicking off.
And personality where he you could tell he was not going to be rude to the pink-haired lesbian. He wasn't. He made a decision in his mind. But if you go back to earlier videos, see that character was being developed. That peacemaker, that was something that was about to be so well refined that we didn't get a chance. We didn't get a chance. But now, because it wasn't so standardized for us to copy, we can innovate it. We have to do. We have to be pioneers to pick up with that level of radical transparency. But in order to do so, we can't be copy and pasters and think that we can go and be somebody else. We have to go out and be ourselves. Then when I
Right.
hear people telling their testimonies and sharing, one on one, somehow it sounds a lot different than when they start. At there's just something that happens when you start sharing your testimony on a microphone or something. It's just like, so, guys. Like, the solution cannot be that we go out on the microphone. I'm not even trying to make it about that stupid thing I say all the time. I'm just trying to say our testimonies are beautiful, right? They're beautiful testimonies meant to reach people, in these moments. And mine equips me to be able to say, hey, bro, I know I was an activist. I know exactly where you are right now. I know I'm not going to be like a Vinci for nothing, you know? Um, there was a point in time when I would have hung out with you, bro, because I agree with you enough, right? 15 years ago, I would have actually still, despite our disagreements, because I'm so much against the machinery, right? That I would be with you because I was with anything that was against this New World Order machinery. But since I met the Lord, you know, I'm with you in a different way, right? I don't see them like the enemy, right? I
Yeah,
really,
yeah, yeah. And I think that's really the thing. We have to stop. People have to stop looking at them as the enemy, right? And because they're not really the enemy. I mean, they are manifesting as the enemy, but the real enemy is obviously, it's the principalities and powers. That's the war that we're in. That's the war that we're fighting.
but
And
it's also the lack of truth because the internet's so confusing. No one's culpable because there's too much confusion, and the internet, you know, it's just it's reasonable for people to be confused. I'm confused. I've been doing it for 20 years. You just got into it 2 weeks ago, and you think the thing is you're sure that you're right. It takes multiple times of having been so sure you were right, only to realize that you're wrong. That now you'll have wisdom to be quiet, right?
yeah,
A lot of these people are at that beginning phase, and they haven't. You know, I, I don't know how in touch they are with their inner voice, realizing whether they believe what they're saying or not. Okay, because when you're receiving public attention, it can really fuel everything, even if it's not on the internet. Your personal reputation as an activist on the streets matters, right? When people see your face and they know you're there every day, you're getting out the water bottles, you get personal street cred. It's not about TikTok, right? So they also are building a family the same way we are supposed to be a church to edify one another. They are a political church that's been edifying another for 13, 14 years. Okay.
yeah,
This started way before Occupy.
right. So one of the things I think, just to kind of, obviously we've discussed the ICE thing, and I think overall, I'll just say this, and we'll kind of segue into our next segment. Um, that man was made in the image of God, and unfortunately, his life ended. I don't believe it had to happen, um, but that's what happens when we put ourselves in situations that we shouldn't be in, and it's unfortunate. And so we have to have compassion for humanity and human life, regardless if they agree with our politics or ideology. And and the only hope is obviously the gospel. Um, it's obviously we know that the only hope is the gospel. That's what changes hearts. That's what changes minds. And um, but one of the things that I think is the part of the gaslighting, and yeah, I understand that there's gaslighting on both sides. I definitely understand that, and I'm not here to gaslight. I don't want to gaslight. But one of the things I think that we have to understand what is being put out there now, because one of the segments that I was going to talk about was Iran, and I think it's important that we do talk about that. But the reason why I think it's like, how is this what happened in ICE and in Minnesota related to Iran? And I've already heard it from people on my social media page.
Alex, I'm going to leave you for 1 second. You take this from back in 2 minutes.
Yeah, that's fine. So, one of the things that I think is, I've already seen it on my social media page where people are trying to now relate with what's happening in Minnesota as the same thing that's happening in Iran. Okay, is that there's a corrupt government and the people are rising up to fight against that corrupt government. but that couldn't be further from the truth in a sense of the amount of corruption within the governments are completely different. It is not the same thing that's happening, but that's what we're beginning to hear from the left. Is that the same thing that's happening in Minnesota is what's happening in Iran, and so yeah. So I just want to kind of segue into what's happening in Iran, and before I do that, I just want you guys to know that what's happening in Iran is it's pretty bad. Okay, it is not good. Um, and so some of the images that I struggle with actually putting those images out there, just because some of them are so bad. And so if I'm only going to put two of them out there. I mean, there are some that is really, really bad, some really terrible images. Okay, and we're not talking about like the same thing that what was happening in Israel and Gaza. Like I think a lot of that was Gaza wood. I believe a lot of that was fake. Some of it could be real, of course. And in war, there's horrible things that happen. And war is obviously not fun, not good. But what the Iranian regime has done over the decades is has been terrible. Okay, and I mean, imagine being under an Islamic rule when your country wasn't before, and now all of a sudden it is. You can only imagine the things that's happening. So, as I mentioned before, I am going to segue over to the Iranian situation there. But please keep in mind that the photos that I'm going to get ready to show are pretty bad, and I'm only going to show like maybe one or two things. But it's so just yeah. So this is a young boy that seems to have been yeah, obviously beaten. And I don't know if there was some kind of an explosion or something, but um, yeah. I mean, it is pretty tough, right? And this is coming out, and there is a lot of this stuff that is coming out of Iran. Okay, this right here is I also shared this, and this is kind of what sparked somebody stating on my social media that, oh, well, this is the same thing that's happening in Minneapolis, but it's not. This is not the same thing. Okay.
And day to day.
This is the abuse of a woman on the street. And again, this is in Iran. And, where's the global outcry, right? Where are the free Palestine individuals? Where's the free Palestine protesters? And I can tell you that something like this doesn't fit their narrative. I mean, the guy has a machete. We don't even know what happened to her afterwards. Okay, the guy's got a machete. He just kicked her in the face while she's on the ground. And like I said, there's a lot more that's coming out that I'm just not going to show. And so yeah, it's pretty disturbing. So I don't know what you guys think. I think that I think America does need to get involved. To be honest with you, that's what I think, and I think we will. I think it's coming. I think it's almost inevitable. Um, I struggle with it because it's like we don't want to go to war. I mean, I don't want to go to war. But it's like, man, what do we do? What is the president supposed to do? Matt, what is he supposed to do? And like I mentioned before, like
Can you hear me?
I can hear you now.
Okay, sorry.
Yeah.
Well,
Go ahead.
because I have the answers for everything. That's the problem. You ask me a question, and then it's like, well, this is what you got to do. You have to prepare the hearts and the minds of the people. You have to make a case. This is what we used to do. It's not about declaration of war. It's not about these little things we throw around. It's about that you used to wake up in the morning newspaper and you see a perfectly crafted headline that the whole nation would read throughout the day, a few different newspapers, a couple different narratives. And they would set the tone for war, whether war was appropriate or inappropriate. They would lay out, the case and all the security threats, Alex. We're not in anything that we're doing right now. We're suffering. We perish for a lack of knowledge. We have a lack of knowledge, awareness about the political spectrum because our leaders don't do what's necessary in order to pacify our decades of doubt that have been instilled by decades of corruption and expectations of corruption. So then, therefore, it's sort of easy to make a case because what we've been saying is ever since the Iraq war is you're not going to lead us into another XYZ with your fake weapons of mass destruction. We have a very simple narrative when we deconstruct and we say, hey, we're not completely anti-government here, but we've lost our trust, right? So
Right.
what you're required now to do is follow through on one thing that you actually say you're going to do to the very end, right? And the one thing that we've demanded is we demand that people be put in jail, right? And so that there is this never again punishment for the treason that's happened within, our nation. And I think once people are actually punished and we actually kick out the deep state, then once we start making what's that word thing? You have to set the example. There's been no example set and there's been no rhetoric. And all we have is doubt and fatigue and chaos. We don't trust the CIA. We don't trust the NSA. We don't trust Dan Bongino. We don't trust Kash Patel now, right? Distrust is our name. So what is it? It would take me a half an hour at ChatGPT in order to enter all the things people distrust in order to create a speech that would say, guys, I know this is what's going on. Here's now what we're going to do. But instead, they feed distrust, which means they feed dissent, which means they feed divide and conquer. If they're not good shepherds, then inevitably the wolves are going to consume us and divide us. This is just life. It takes a good shepherd, and a good shepherd isn't someone who's powerful and a master negotiator at this point in time. A good shepherd, he might save our economy. It very well could happen. Okay. And he might be that for us, but he's not that person that offers restraint and a direction of a golden ticket that we can trust. And so then therefore a leadership under Donald J. Trump is insufficient to be led by, because all the time, if we listen to him, we're going to be going against the Holy Spirit. Right. And yeah, it's just difficult. And it doesn't mean he's an enemy. Doesn't mean he's a bad guy. It isn't so black and white, but he could be. History is sophisticated enough and replete with this conspiracy being so entrenched. Things Candace Owen is saying right now about the witchcraft covens, right? This is real stuff. I bumped into this.
No, I haven't heard anything that she's been saying over the past.
Well, the bottom line is, the Illuminati is a real thing. It is the witchcraft coven of the music industry of Hollywood, okay? Well, there is a witchcraft coven of the EDM scene that I bumped into in New York City, okay? There's a witchcraft coven in the Lawyers Guild of America. There's a witchcraft coven all across this country, right? That terminology such as human trafficking, used to be satanic ritual abuse, people going missing all over the country. They're in these families, they're in these labels, they're in these covens. There's people who their sole existence's purpose is not to be lazy Christians who don't even know what the Spirit of God is. There are people who live in the spirit realms, navigating the second heaven, thinking that is the real heaven.
Yeah.
And so it's going to take for us to be able to compete with spiritual ideas. Great. We have that in the modern charismatic movement to an extent, but we have nothing visionary to offer on the political realm. right? Because our leaders are God, they're not Holy Spirit filled leaders in order to have the self-control componentry so well mastered and to not be a stumbling block for others, right?
I
That's a
and
weakness in
I
the church.
honestly think that that's why Charlie was unalived, because he was the probably the best candidate for that in the future.
Well, because he was powerful, right? Because vulnerability means you've lost your reputation. So only some people, their reputation is being vulnerable, and that's how they made their reputation, right? But most people don't have anything to say. They are not led by the Holy Spirit, and they can't offer a critical examination because they're not willing to be vulnerable about their life. They explain the new direction that they're going in, right? And have the wisdom to relate to the person who's at the same spot that they were once at, like me as an activist, and say, no, I don't want you to be as hard headed, right? My sister was embarrassed of me for a decade. I thought I was cream of the crop. I was like on the streets. I'm like, you don't do nothing. You just sit in the house all day. I'm on the streets. I got my signs. I got my megaphone. Come on.
Yeah.
I want to get out there. I can do it.
Well, anyways, yeah. So just to mention a little bit again about Iran, obviously, what's happening right now is that there are President Trump has positioned himself and the United States military and the strike groups within distance. And so obviously tensions are escalating. What happens from here, obviously only God knows what happens. But the USS Abraham Lincoln is in the region. So obviously tensions are rising. And I see a lot of influencers that are Iranian or have Iranian descent that are calling on Donald Trump to hold good to his word, because they're suspecting right now the number to be somewhere in the neighborhood of about 20,000 people, Iranians, that have been executed during the Iranian Revolution that's been taking place. And so it's like, I think it's almost really only a matter of time, if when something like that something is going to pop off. All I can really say is I pray that whatever happens, that it happens quickly, that it ends quickly, and we can move on, because
That's what we said 3
um,
months ago.
yeah, well, I mean, but look, I mean, the things like that happen. Look what happened. Look what happened with Venezuela. I don't think we're going to see another Venezuela per se, but look what happened in Venezuela. I looked at my phone at about like it was like 1:45 or 1 o'clock, or I can't remember how it was late. I looked at my phone and I saw from a Telegram source that I follow that America is at war with Venezuela, and then I saw a video pop right up, and it was like I was like, man, it's happening, and I didn't know what was happening, but it was like, man, something's happening. And I went to bed and I prayed. I said I prayed because it was we were getting ready for bed. I prayed that whatever was happening, that it would end quickly. And when I woke up in the morning, my wife was like, "Hey, they captured Maduro," and I was like, "What?" I was like, I was like, "That quick?" And so I don't think that like something like that's going to happen again this time around, but yeah,
What about the speech at Davos? Did you watch his speech Trump's speech at Davos?
of course.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
mean,
Already covered that, Matt. Where you been, Matt?
programming 24/7. Well, the next 3 years is all the time we ever have in order to make any wealth in this world, right? And for myself, as a software developer for 20 years, I've been doing this AI thing for 3 years now. But in the last 9 months, we just went into a place where all dreams are possible, which means I've seen what's going to happen. I know the future. I've lived it. I've seen it because as an innovator, as an entrepreneur, I know that all entrepreneurial vision is going to be completed within the next 3 years. There's going to be every idea that could be done is going to have been implemented.
Yeah.
So within the next 3 years, we're going to see a massive rush of businesses, millions of new businesses created, not brick and mortars, online new businesses, most of which fail. And because there's no consumers and there's not enough B2Bs in order to buy these. So I really, my focus, just so you know, I have a kingdom infrastructure, a kingdom ecosystem of how to leverage the AI software development that we've been in, and bring that in. So as much as I have in my own personal business, there's some incredible opportunities that just were too big to be realized before AI in terms of what we can do in unifying the body of Christ and leveraging software. I can just tell you real quick, like I've made just in the past week, my family, my grandma, about 5 years ago, I felt the Lord telling me, start doing a Bible study with your family. And I
Hmm.
tried to make my mom and my aunt do it, right? And have his prayer study with my family. Let's do a conference call. He was like, just thoughts in my head. And I didn't want to take responsibility doing it, of the awkwardness of contacting everybody. Well, now my grandma died. I'm like, man, I should have did that. It's real weird. So now I finally done it, right? But within a week, like created like a software now, which is just the sole purpose is get our families together on a conference call, right? We all talk, we lift up each other with prayer. AI keeps track of our prayer requests every single week, sort of prompts us with praying. So I just found for my own personal life, there's incredible opportunity to organize the body of Christ. And it's reawakened my solution spirit. I used to always be a solutions guy, always. Delusional, Willy Wonka, psychopathic solutions that shock and awed you because they were so bizarre, right? Like that thing I mentioned about Care Bear stare that I was joking with ICE. That's something I did to Occupy Wall Street. I took Black Bloc, who was out there with garbage cans, things to block the police, right? And my proposal to them, they didn't take it up, was that we do the Care Bear stare at the police instead, right? We'll get projectors, old projectors, we'll power them with batteries, and we'll dress up as Care Bears and we'll Care Bear stare at the police. That's the type of, and it so shocked them that like this guy's nuts, right? But they funded other things that I did, with Occupy Wall Street money. So
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm just really looking forward to get out in the streets. And I know our audience is sort of boots on the ground Christians, right? So I would say that if you are in an area of protest and you feel that you are really led by the Holy Spirit, that you have that test of time in order to have that wisdom of how to carry yourself out, there's really a lot of value we could provide of being there, in this place. But if you are not time tested, trialed, ready for battle, with the wisdom and know when to speak and when to hold your mouth shut, right? I don't know. I'd be a little bit scared for you going out at this point in time.
Yeah. Yeah. So this is what's being flooded in. Apparently, there's an autonomous zone now in Minnesota, Minneapolis, that the rioters have declared to be their zone, and they're being funneled in with all types of
Ooh,
supplies.
that's fun. I remember that.
And
Pizza,
yeah,
pizza
man,
day,
I
guys.
mean,
Pizza's ready.
if you guys want to freeze out there, man, uh, more power to you, man.
Oh, we did that in New York. You don't understand the fun it is when you're in this gang mentality. Oh, they're having the best time of their lives. What's funny is that Nicole Good, remember her wife, whatever,
Yeah.
don't be disrespectful. You know what she said? She says, we came here, we didn't know anybody. We had no friends. It was one of the things that stood out to me that she has mentioned in the interviews.
Mm.
And yeah, basically, they just met these friends. And they were doing everything to impress these friends, brother. They wanted to be the cool people. They had no friends. They're coming into town new, they get job. Okay, $20 an hour here. I can do this. I'm affiliated with LGBTQ stuff. And to try that by being this really bold person, same way that we pat each other on the back, just so you know, in Christianity, that was a great sermon, brother. They do it too. They keep track. It's called street cred, right? And in the activist community, I feel that poor girl, that's what she was trying to do, And the thoughts in my head were every time she said she's a Christian, the thoughts in my head were, you filthy, man, I got to watch myself. That's what I'm concerned about at this point in time. Every time, everything that comes on the screen, my first thought in my head is to go with exactly those wicked thoughts. But I stop them. I don't allow it to happen. I don't know what it is. I don't know if it's a demon or what's going on. But that's what I'm fearful of is everybody who's going through that doesn't have the
Yeah.
Holy Spirit,
Yeah. Yeah. Okay.
Yikes.
Yeah. So I was
Iran, Hey, real
What's
quick
that?
on the Iran situation, who's right and who's wrong with that one, huh? Who's the good guy? Who's the bad guy? Huh?
Yeah,
What
no,
is
I
it?
don't know. Yeah, I don't know. I think I'm just gonna see what happens. That's just kind of where I'm at. Just got to see
Just,
what happens.
just trust Candace. Whatever Candace says, trust Candace.
I'm definitely not trusting Candace,
Why?
but yeah. So, anyways, a little bit on the lighter news. I mean, I know we've been talking a lot about like things that people have been unaliving, and um, yesterday was I think it was like the 56 or 50 yeah 52nd 56th annual March for Life in Washington D.C. And we had over 100,000 Christian patriots marching in Washington D.C. To end abortion in this country. So I think that's really good. Um, Something that needs to happen is we have to continue to fight to end abortion in this country. And so that was kind of a big thing. And Donald Trump did give a little bit of a speech on that. Let me just go there. And also, JD Vance had also given a speech as well.
March for Life. For 53 years, students, families, patriots, and believers have come to Washington from every corner of the country to defend the infinite worth and God given dignity of every human life. In 2026, as we celebrate 250 years since our founding fathers recognized the right to life in our Declaration of Independence, I want to thank every single one of you who was out on this winter day, a beautiful day, but it's winter nevertheless, to stand up for the unborn. 6 years ago, I was proud to be the first president in history to attend this march in person. Since then, we have made unprecedented strides to protect innocent life and support the institution of the family like never before. There's never been anything like it. In my first term, I was honored to appoint judges and justices who believed in interpreting the Constitution as written. That was a big deal. And because of that, the pro-life movement won the greatest victory in its history. Now the work to rebuild a culture that supports life continues in every state, every community, and every part of our beautiful land. This is a battle that must be fought, must be won, not only in the corridors of power, but above all in the hearts and souls of the people. That is why under the Trump administration, we're strongly defending religious liberty. We're bringing back faith in America. We're bringing back God. We have stopped forced taxpayer funding of abortion at home and abroad. We're championing faith-based adoption and foster care and supporting our parents by investing $1,000 into an account that will grow over time for every newborn baby. With your help and support, we will continue to fight at the eternal truth that every child is a gift from God. Thank you, and God bless America.
Amen. So one of the things, though, I think that we don't realize is the fact that Roe v. Wade was overturned. It while that's definitely a step in the right direction. The problem with that is that it opened up a can of worms. That now each individual state is trying to codify abortion in their state constitutions. And this is where the church must do better. The church must do better. And because the church is ignorant in this, that they don't realize that, yeah, we won a battle for abortion by overturning Roe v. Wade in America. But now states are trying to codify abortion in their own individual constitutions. I think last in the 2024 elections, we had something like 8 or 10 or 12 states trying to codify it, actually write it into the state's constitution. And that's something that we can't allow to happen. Okay. And so that's why I think it's a big deal for Christians to be involved in politics, to be involved in understanding what is taking place in your own neck of the woods. And if you're not, then you're sitting back while the devil is at work in your state to try to write into law, write into the constitution of your state where you live. I mean, in Florida, we had it. We had it in Florida in 2024. Thank God we it was like thank God it didn't pass. But one of the things that's really irritating about it is because they also had the marijuana thing here in Florida that I thought was a big no. Like we have to vote no on that. Like, and I was telling everybody at our church, and I was telling everybody we have to vote no, right? Well, me and my wife go to the store somewhat recently, and there's a guy getting signatures to have it put on the ballot again. Like we just voted that down. And now they're trying to put it on again. And it's like it's only a matter of time that we're going to slip, that Christians are going to slip up. And then next thing you know, these things are going to get put into legislation, or the state legislation. It's going to get written into the state's constitutions. And it's like if we vote no, it shouldn't be allowed to be put back on the ballot. That's how I feel. It's crazy. I'm like, wait a minute, we just voted no on this. Anyways, it's my rant.
I mean, I'd just like to see a country where we have more referendums. I think the problem is that we don't see enough of them that actually, go back in order to have the people express their opinion, express their vote. If that was happening on a wide variety of category of issues, I think we'd have a better informed constituency. But it's just like everything else, it's just a scam, and it's just like you said. It was try it again next week. And they're so bold now. They don't even need to have that 5 years or 2 years. Look in when people are having these public scandals now. It used to take them a decade to come back. They're coming back in a year. They're bouncing up in 6 months. As the wickedness increase, so does people's tolerance for it. But when it comes to the abortion topic, when it comes to state constitutions, I'm just still. Yeah, fine. They're looking to solidify this in the state constitutions, but we've just been under 20 years, well, more than that, of that being stamped on the forehead of the entire country, right? And I honestly would like to see individual states completely fail and become the finest examples of debauchery and evil being called good, good being called evil. So that out of that, the ones that are righteous could, prove a different way, and that's what I'd rather see that.
Like
than,
like a state of California just completely implode with lawlessness and.
But it doesn't have to be on a state level. That's the fun part. If we actually followed the Constitution, like when people, that's when these guys talking about the Constitution. I actually love the Constitution. I think when they say it, they don't even know what they like. I love that they were thinking about firewalls 250 years ago like this. And they built some pretty sophisticated firewalls with people who only had, pen and paper.
You're talking about like a firewall with like a 2/3.
Yeah, all those
60,
really interesting check and
60% of the
balances.
Senate, things like that.
And the separation of powers of how it goes. It didn't just go down to the state level. That it further, the separation of powers starts at the state level. It's not even like we have to let states go to crap in a heartbeat. You got the whole county municipality system. There's 1,000 other check and balance all throughout the states. We've abandoned the whole idea of the Constitution. The Constitution doesn't just mean we want to protect the federal Constitution. It means that we want to protect the ability within the states to have radical different laws governed by our jurisdictional county boundaries, right? And so, but our minds are so limited, and the statesmen are so few that all the initiatives are either made on the state level or the federal level. Well, that's not how we have to work, right? We can work on the local community level to create a standard that we can then present to the world and say, hey, replicate this, right? And so our Constitution gives us the ability to be able to pioneer and then demonstrate what works and what does not. And that's the part of it that I thought was awesome, because I honestly, in my mind, I live in a, technological crazy land where I'm all for electronic voting. If I built the electronic voting systems in the country, I wouldn't even have an elected representative. To me, elected representatives are just a target waiting to be, blackmailed or, So I think we're living in a time, a day and age where, if there's no, like, the founders of the country, they basically said we couldn't trust the education level of the people in order to make proper decisions, right? And you would think that now, with access to information like we have it today, but I think there's no truer statement than that right now. With all the information that we have, we've made an environment by which the people cannot possibly discern what the truth is, right? And so then, therefore, we got the special performer, called himself a politician, that's supposed to do all the thinking for us, when really we have the technology today for each and every one of us to be well educated and being able to have the levers of power grip in our own hands. We should be able to have voice and control. And that's what the Constitution actually allows us. We actually can do that if it's a well-educated people. What was that quote? That within one generation, if we don't defend liberty, it'll be gone.
Right. Something like that.
Thomas Jefferson. I mean,
Yeah, I
the
think
tree of
so.
liberty is renewed by the death of the blood of patriots. We say the same thing in martyrs, right? In
Yeah.
Christianity. I mean, these are some realities, and I gave up on activism because I never saw us ever win any battle, ever. None of this stuff ever helped anything, right? And there's that Mark Twain quote, that at the beginning of a change, the patriot is a timid, scorned, hated, and feared man, until his cause succeeds, and then the timid join him, for then it costs nothing to be a patriot. And we've got all these Johnny-come-latelys now. They have the biggest voices on the internet, right? And they don't have the spirit of truth behind them in order to be good stewards on the right or on the left, right? In order to, a perspective like ourselves, I think that a Christian perspective needs to be the dominant, like, teacher. We need to be a
Of
teacher.
course. Of course we do.
Teach
Yes.
other people to be peacekeepers, but we have to be peacekeepers if we're going to teach. And our
Right.
reputation is not as a peacekeeper. The Christians, we need to redevelop our reputation by how, when you say preaching the gospel, I'm like, heck yeah. But a part of me inside says, everyone knows everything we're preaching. It's about putting into application some curiosity inside their mind of how we live our life, how we preach what we say, how we explain it to them differently, so that our preaching is curious to them, so that we there's some solution to be had. There is no solution other than from Christ. There's no solution other than us getting our act together, right? Us figuring out how to shepherd these lost people, right? There's nothing in politics that's going to do it, and if we're not trying to do it in the spirit of God, will you think these MAGA people are going to do it?
No. No.
Yeah, what
No.
it takes. We can barely figure it out. We got to try and fail, and that's why, as Christians, I want us to grow outside of our comfort zones. Look at what Brother Brent is doing. I love it.
Oh man, I love what he's doing.
I love the billboards.
Yes.
I love it.
I told him to get me like a 30-second video clip, like on how we can, like, support him, how we can financially support him. I'm still waiting on that, but as soon as I get
cheap.
that,
Everything has gotten done. But what I like about him is he's an example of, I'm a nut job and Willy Wonka in my land. He's over there doing very practical stuff, but I like everything he's doing. And so I'd like to see more of us rise up, like more.
Yeah.
You, be you. You. Who are you? Bring it out, But unfortunately, if 20-year-old Matt went over there, I'm gonna leave with a bloody nose. And then that's going to be me on YouTube filming my bloody nose. And then that's the message I give to my Christian audience. But you know what I mean? And there's too many opportunities to go into the field like this and be that light in the midst of darkness, but then compromise your integrity for a couple of clicks. You know what I mean? Or compromise your integrity. How many times have, we try to preach one message when we're on the street, but then all of a sudden it's like, oops, right? Oops. So now you're over there, you put yourself in the middle of harm's way trying to go out there and be a peacekeeper. This really takes us to be the hands and feet of Jesus in order to be the police officers of this realm. What do we need? Code Pink out there, they're the ones. Well, we got the ACLU and Where's the Christian? I should be there with a clipboard of some kind. Hey, can I help you something? You know what I mean? Oh, I don't know what, but not in a compromised state, with my rainbow colored flag. I don't know. I
Yeah.
can see a vision of where we could step up,
Well, look, like I mentioned before, I mean, like I think it's so imperative nowadays because, like, for us, like I don't feel like what we're doing right here is in vain. Okay, like with Faith and Nation, like I truly believe for such a time as this, where we can have a platform where we can discuss these issues, where we can both call out both the left and the right. When the right is wrong, the right is wrong. When the left is wrong or right, when the left is right, the
But
left
who
is
are
right.
we? We're people who are on the streets. We're not online people. We never have been. Right?
Well, yeah. No, true. Of course. Well, yeah. We're, as far as a ministry wise,
I know.
yeah,
Let's raise an
ministry
army or
wise,
something.
yeah, CFM, Christ
Hey,
Forgiveness
you!
Ministries. We in a ministry are on the streets, and that yeah, we are, and we engage the culture.
Right.
But
And we're useful because there's a street mission operating right now in the midst of us.
so then here's what we do, Matt. Do we then? Because I think what Charlie Kirk, his blueprint, what he did was absolutely 100% like awesome. Like I think he laid out a good blueprint. Go to college campuses, talk to people, have a booth, right? All that stuff. If that's what we need to do, then that's what I think we can do. I think that's definitely something we can
It's one of
do,
them.
right?
It in my mind when you said that, and it's just these little psychology points. Do you know one of the biggest things that Charlie did, right, is the cool people in the school, the cool, good-looking ones, right? Those are the ones that were in Turning Point, right? So, like, it changed the dynamic of like who who are the jocks and who are the geeks and who is all this, right? And when the people on the outskirts saw the cool people, it made it more comfortable for them to do this. And that's what helped that avalanche happen within a particular university. So when a campus opened and it went from 20, it went from like 7 people to 20 people to now it's like 200 people, within like a month. You know what I mean? So there is something to be said there, but I feel like it's bigger than that, right? Because that's very formalized. That's very production, right? Production thing. And I think while that's great, and like Steven Crowder is trying to do it
Needs
in
to
his
be like
way,
more organic, more organic. You're what you're saying.
to be effective at this point in time, we need to be Trojan horses for the Lord, right? And there's
What do you
a place
mean? Like,
for
do we
everything.
dress up? What do I put on a pink wig? Trojan horse?
I don't know. See, for me, I know what I would do because I'm this unique character, right? And sort of puffed up in my own pride of having learned a lot of lessons from being such a prideful person, right? But so I have creative ideas, and I can't imagine that God isn't like if the same thing going on in me, I hope that God is just doing in others, right? But it has to be individual because the minute you go there and you put a desk down, right? Like you saw the guy, all he does is say free legal advice. And he sits outside in a chair. That sign should just basically say, hey, come up and confront me, punch me in the face for $1, right? So God should be able to lead us into a special, unique like medium of how we're reaching people that's unique to us, and that's what the Spirit of God is, right? He's supposed to like use our creative juices in order to have that revelation. Was it Revelation 6? Our testimony,
That's Revelation 13, I think.
or
But
whatever
yeah,
it is, but like it's got to be unique. Can't be an idea I give you, right? But what I've noticed the last couple of weeks is my own family, because I'm trying to put these Bible studies together. I didn't want to be the person speaking at the funeral. Man, if you're a teacher, you got to be a teacher. There aren't a lot of people to teach, and I'm just amazed of like how much I talk and how little people understand anything I'm saying. And then when I'm preaching, I paraphrase the Bible and every piece of advice I get. I don't give advice that's not biblical, right? And then I'm giving advice, and they don't even realize everything I just said was Bible. They haven't. So I'm like, I just think like my own family, my own life is a reflection of the whole world.
yeah.
There's nothing.
I think that's why people liked Christ, because he spoke in parables. He told stories that made sense. That's why the sinners liked him, because they were like, man,
Right.
this guy is different, right? He
That's
was just
cool.
telling, yeah, he was like, man, he's different. But I mean, but it hit, right? It hit him,
Right.
but it hit differently,
Right.
right?
That pricking the heart thing, whatever that is. And, I've experienced tastes of that in Christ. I had that with CFM. I was pricked at the heart at that Whole Foods, you know? I was pricked in the heart outside the Whole Foods as I watched the first person that pastor laid hands on fall to the ground before I knew what deliverance was. And I was trying to pay attention. I don't know. So like there's these moments where we're constantly being pricked to the heart, but like
Yeah.
we have to be generators of them. And we got to have that wisdom, because some of the advertising techniques for the Lord that have been out there for the past 20 years, unfortunately, the enemy has been able to ruin that branding for us, so that when we use that technique, people already have a cognitive dissonance. They've already associated that particular brand with that particular way of speaking, font, tone, etc., whatever it might be. It's already been branded so that the people don't hear it. They literally dismiss you, because through neuro linguistic programming, they see something they already have a category for, right? People need to start seeing Christians and have no category for them, right? When a Christian sees, when you're out in the streets and you're being yourself one-on-one, you talk with somebody in line and this type of thing, the person doesn't have a category for you. Maybe he thinks, oh, this person's autistic. Maybe this is the happy person, right? But it's really about this one-on-one evangelism where the Spirit of the Lord is moving us through. This whole prophetic movement isn't just about like reading your Facebook's profiles. It's about when you're out in the streets that God, he puts the right thing you're supposed to talk about with that person, right? And he makes it so that you are a antidote to that person's problem, right? And we have to be willing to be used that way, but we're so when we get in evangelism mode, outreach mode, right? There's something about the outreach mode. It's very much like their gang mentality activism mode. There's a falseness to it, right? The lacking of organics, right? We accuse them of being paid protesters. Are we paid? What's our motivation? What's our fuel? For why are we going out into the streets? Do we only evangelize when we're in a group, right? What do we do on the one-on-one? You know what I mean? And I feel like this is the part that if we were strategic, right? Like Trojan horses, I'm not saying anything more than that, but we were strategic in how we needed to use the collective wisdom of the body of Christ and the Holy Spirit in order to be a wedge in the door when we see chaos being created for this purpose. And we know inevitably we're going to lose. We are not going to win this, right? But just because we're going to lose doesn't mean we don't try very hard to illustrate the path to peace.
What do you
right?
mean that we're going to lose? What like in what way? What do you mean?
Well, we're not going to be successful in convincing people to be kind and nice to one another, and in the vast majority of numbers as we go out there and we do this work, it's in most part it's not going to be successful. We're not going to see the hope and the dream that we help to see realized in the mass, right? But we will see it on the one-to-one. We'll see it on the individual lives of the people who we and I
Yeah.
think if we're all doing it collectively, if there's a lot of Alexes and a lot of Matt individuals out there doing this, maybe there's a chance that we
True.
know
Yeah. Obviously,
the story.
I mean that's the church's downfall, is that they are not mostly evangelistic, right? But look, I agree with you that there needs to be more of that, in a sense of like people need to be able to have conversations one on one. I agree with you. But obviously I disagree with you on the open air, because again, I think the open air does open up opportunities for one on one, and that's
But
why
it
it's good to have
hasn't. In
multiple
this
people.
protest environment, right? For example, come
Oh,
on.
in this protest, yeah, no,
Look what happens in
they're not
Seattle.
they're not going to listen to you in a protest
Right.
environment like
So we
this.
have
Yeah,
to.
you're not
So
going to
it's
get
not
listened to.
about Matt LePasek's preferences, right? It's really about business. That's it. I'm on my father's business here, okay? And I don't want to be haphazard about it, because I'm responsible to the level of wisdom he gave me, right? And if I didn't have this wisdom, I wouldn't be responsible. I can just run around being confrontational Matt. You know what I mean? But unfortunately, I have this wisdom means I have a responsibility to live up to it. Even though my every instinct is I also want to put my hand around their throat and then say sorry 2 seconds later. Is you yellow, you pink-haired lesbian. Oh, sorry. Sorry.
Yeah. Okay. Well, that's going to do it for today, guys. I guess my final thoughts on all of this, Matt, is number one, it was good to see you again.
Yeah, it's good to talk with a human.
Yeah, maybe we'll see you more in the future. But
You just
yeah,
can't be on the
I,
street.
I think as I was saying before, I think for such a time as this, I think Faith in Nation is because with the missing of Charlie Kirk, when I started this, dude, and I started listening to Charlie Kirk, dude, I related to Charlie Kirk. Charlie Kirk was like, I was like, man, this guy is good. This guy's a Christian. You have all these other guys that are saying they're Christians, and we don't, and they don't act like it, right? Even on their shows, even on their podcasts, they don't act like Christians, but they say they're Christians, and like the Nick Fuentes. I don't believe he's a Christian. I know you disagree or whatever, but I strongly, 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 strongly believe that's why we need a place like this. That's why we need a Faith in Nation to keep people accountable. You say you're a Christian, you're going to get called out when you act
You
a
say you're a
fool.
Christian, I should be comfortable leaving people who aren't Christian around you.
Yeah, if you say you're a Christian and you're acting a fool, you're going to get called out. Like
Yep.
this guy, Jake Lang.
I know. That's me, bro. That was me. I did that. I feel
But
so.
he was saying he says he's a Christian.
Oh, so did I. Bro, I've been arrested with an Ephesians chapter 6 shirt. I literally was a joke for years.
I
I
got
was
arrested
cursing.
with a Jesus Saves from Hell sweater on.
No, I was cursing. This is like
Oh,
10 years ago. I'm like being
okay.
arrested and like with this is in my I wasn't a born again Christian. I was wearing an
Okay.
Ephesians chapter 6 shirt, right?
Fair
Cursing at the
enough.
police officer. And calling her a C word, right? Mommy, and they're like filming me, you know what I mean? And like my friends made fun of me for years because of that hypocrisy. It was like a running joke. You know what I mean? That's
Yeah.
what we have right now. People like me are dangerous in the name of the Lord. And that's
Yeah.
all they know. They just know people like me, the old me, the 20-year-old me.
Yeah.
So my job when I'm out talking to people one-on-one, I need to have this empathy, this skill that's God given me to be able to see behind their psychoticness, that even though I'm enraged by their behavior, I can somehow pull back. I can pull back for a second and all right, I see them at home now with no friends for the last 4 years. I see them, like you can just relate to them in their in their humanity to be able to speak to them, you know.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
something we gotta be able to do something. Something. I don't even have a good idea because I don't know what the solution is. But gosh darn it, can't we organize and do something as a Christian? Something.
Yeah.
Where's our money? We need
Yeah, I
people.
would be interested to see this Charlie Kirk push for a strong LDS church. I think we should be slow to call people Christians. Yeah, no, I truly believe Charlie Kirk was a Christian.
Don't
And
believe that stuff.
yeah, I don't know. I would be interested to see how he pushed for a strong LDS church because I've never seen him push for a LDS church.
No.
And but anyways, so I just wanted to comment on that. But listen, we're gonna get ready to close up here. Obviously the gospel is the most important thing. How can we reach a people like this? um and I think you're right, Matt. Like, we have to get a little bit more creative on being able to share the gospel with people. And yeah, I know there's trolls right now. Like,
Well,
people
not
are like,
true, and I don't know what it is, but
no, even with this who's hateful rhetoric.
me.
Yours, Matt, with Matt,
I
yours. You
tune in
got
on
the
Thursday.
hateful rhetoric.
Yeah,
Yeah.
no, it's just that there is no,
Charlie's rhetoric wasn't
But
hateful.
here's the thing, bro. The truth is that you can actually clip Charlie from 3 years ago, right? And when he was not this Charlie the last year and a half, there's things he said 3.5, 4 years ago. He would not have said it with this new creation in Christ of that he was being sanctified and totally things he wasn't aware of how he
Yeah.
looked
Oh man,
or the
I mean,
change.
I'm being sanctified still. I mean,
I'm just saying, this is the
I've
case. This
toned
is the
it
only
down.
Charlie they
You
know. They're
know,
being brainwashed. They're
you
being
know,
brainwashed with selective programming. I've
I,
watched
I've
Ellen channels for 20
I've
years.
toned my,
They play a clip. They play
by
a clip
God's
for 20
grace,
seconds.
I've
I've
been
seen.
able to be toned down. In the way that I do things. Matt, if you saw me street evangelize, you'd probably be like, dude, okay, never mind. Maybe not street evangelism. Maybe I'm still a little. It's just how it comes out, man.
But
I
you've
don't know.
heard that speech from me a million times. But I'm just saying it applies here. You know, I don't want to feel hopeless as a Christian, because the cool part, when I found Christianity and this Holy Spirit stuff, right? That was very hopeful, because I knew what was I missing this whole time? I was giving speeches. I was like trying to do presentations. I was doing this activism with a microphone thing. Like, oh, now we have supernatural Holy Spirit. I don't have to try real hard. And then when I started seeing all these miracles and everything, my mind went into, oh, we can have old school tent revivals. The buildings are the problem. It's the building that somehow desensitizes to them. They see too many of them. Well, then I did the tent revival thing, and then no one noticed that either. The tent revival thing wasn't enough. We don't care about no tent. Like that wasn't the fix. So I've just been in a process where I've tried to deploy these fixes. I start giving out audio Bible MP3 players. I start giving out, instead of giving you a 7-point font tiny Bible, I now give you a 17-point font larger Bible, right? Right. I stopped giving King James. I now give you NLTs, right? So like I've evolved as a Christian, how I try to do my evangelism, my one-on-ones, right? Now I've got TVs that I drive around on a scooter that do the advertising for me for the Lord, So I don't expect people to be doing all this nuttiness, right? But I do want to see them in their evangelism, right? Because I have the eyes to see the uniqueness of their personality, and it's because I can see what they're capable of doing and what God gave them in their personality and their meekness or whatever. And when I see them turn into somebody else, I'm like, that's not what God gave you. What are you using that for? It's not even real. God gave you all this. Use that to talk with the person. What are you using that facade for?
Sure. All right, Matt, that's enough. You gotta go. But listen, guys, we just want to thank you guys for watching it. At the end of the day, it has to be all about Jesus. He's the only hope. We're gonna have left, right. we're gonna have things that happen on the left, things that happen on the right. Unfortunately, a man lost his life today for foolish reasons. It didn't have to happen. And it remains to be seen what's going to happen in Minneapolis. It's probably going to go up in flames. Those guys are cold out there. They're going to start lighting fires to get warm. I can already see it now.
Hey, if you get a second, let's talk about Mike Winger stuff next week or something. If you get a chance, I'd love to talk about this whole Bethel stuff. Yeah,
I'm on the side of Mike Winger.
Yeah, of course. What does that mean? If you're either, you think I'm on the side of
Bethel,
the masturbating bear?
What?
Come on.
All right, that's enough, dude.
What do you mean? That's a story.
Yeah. I know. That's crazy. Yeah. We'll talk about it. Maybe.
Let's talk about it. Let's try to.
All right. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Let's definitely try to talk about it. But for now, listen. Obviously, guys, the only hope is the gospel. The only hope is in Jesus Christ. For you leftists out there, turn to Jesus Christ, get saved, and for you woke on the right. Okay, those that call yourselves Christians, but yet you got foul mouths, and yet you're acting wilding out there. Turn to Jesus Christ, repent of your sins, be born again, get baptized in the Holy Spirit, get baptized, be discipled, and then it's time. And it's time for Christians. It's time for us to rise up and faith the nation. God bless you guys. See you guys in the next one. Peace.